right, I'm going to talk to you guys today about ACT. In the spring, all juniors will be afforded with the opportunity to take the ACT for free. ACT stands for American College Test. So you're probably thinking, why should I take this? Why should I do my best? Why should I even care? Well, it is used for admission to college in many cases. It can be used to even offset your GPA. So let's say you're somebody who maybe didn't always do the best with your grades, but you're really bright. This could be used to offset that, or just sometimes the general number can help you with admissions. Also, for qualifying for scholarship money, it's free and it's during school hours. So, why not do it if you have to be at school anyway? And right now you are at your smartest people. On the testing, it's super important that you know where your testing location is. I also tell students, don't alter your morning routine. Back in the day when you had a standardized test, your teachers and your parents would say, okay, let's make you a big breakfast and do all these things. This is not a day to alter your morning routine. You should not have a huge breakfast burrito and all that kind of stuff, because what's going to happen a couple hours after that. So don't alter your morning routine, with the exception of if you get a super large coffee. Maybe try not to drink all that right before the test, because you don't want to have to waste any of your test time going to the bathroom. So maybe something like that I'd alter a bit. Maybe get a smaller coffee rather than the big large one. But other than that, try not to alter your morning routine too much. Make sure you have an ID with you, either your driver's license or your school ID. Bring a couple of sharpened pencils with erasers. Bring a permitted calculator. ACT is really specific with their calculators. You'll get all that information when it gets closer to the test time. And you can also check with your math teacher. Dress comfortably and plan to arrive on time, if not, a little bit early. When I say dress comfortably, layer, because you don't know where you're going to end up. So the room you end up in might be warm, it might be cold. So you want to be prepared and comfortable. Your cell phone will need to be turned off completely. Since this is a college entrance exam, this is not like anything else, not even AZ Merit. This is way beyond that. This is a national standardized test. So just make sure that your parents know that you will be absolutely unavailable for those 3 to 4 hours. As far as your smartwatch, those are not permitted. So your Apple Watch, things like that, you cannot have. You can have a regular watch, and it can be a digital one, but it can't have any sounds on it. So if you don't know how to turn off the sounds, just don't wear it. And then bring a snack and a bottle of water. You can't eat or drink during the test session, but there will be one break in which you can have a snack. Okay, know the directions. A lot of things with ACT is just going to be tips and tricks and strategies. This is unlike any other test you've ever taken. I'm going to tell you right now, do not read directions on the test day. Because it's a time test, I don't want you to spend any time reading directions. Also, this is just going to reduce your anxiety, right? You're going to know what is coming in each section, and it's a heck of a lot easier to play the game when you know what to do. Okay, let's talk about scoring. So for every one that you get correct, you get 1 point. For ones that you miss, you don't get any points, but you're not deducted any. So this is different than, say, like SAT. So you want to answer every single one, because it doesn't matter. You're not going to get dinged. So everyone that you get right, you're going to get 1 point. So why not guess on the ones that you don't know? There are 4 different sections. There's the English section, math section, reading section, and science section. And the score range is between 1 and a 36. So you'll get a score in each of those areas, and then you'll get what's called your composite score. The national average is 21. And to get a 21 out of a 36, that's really, you're just answering 63% of the questions correctly. And that's going to put you in the top quarter of all ACT test takers. Our school average was just over, I think it was 19 and a half. But remember, we allowed all juniors to take it. Nationally, most people that take it are students that take it that, can afford to take it, that are, planning to go to college for sure, things like that. So our average is really close to the national average when we afforded everybody that opportunity. Okay, here's a little summary of the test. The ACT is 2 hours and 55 minutes long, and there's a short break between sections 2 and 3. So you can expect for it to be, 3.5 hours total for the whole shebang. There are 4 subject-specific tests. One is English, that's 45 minutes, and there's 75 questions. Math, 60 minutes, 60 questions. Reading, 35 minutes, 40 questions. Science reasoning is 35 minutes and 40 questions. You're only allowed to work on one section at a time, and you can't go back or go forward, okay? So when you're in the English section, you only work on that. So you have 45 minutes to answer those 75 questions. Boom, 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 boom. I already talked to you guys about the approved calculator, but you can only use that in the math section. And you shouldn't even use it anywhere else. And again, answering 63% of the questions is going to get in the top quarter of all ACT test takers. So keep that in mind when you start feeling fatigued or stressed out or anxious, that there will be several that you're not going to know, and that's okay. Good test takers do what they can and don't worry about what they can't do. Okay, remember, this is a timed test. Every single question is worth the same amount of points. So what do you want to do? You want to get all the easy coins first, right? Imagine if you walk into a room and there's coins all over. Some of them you can pick up, some of them are like glued down a little bit, and then some of them are cemented down. What are you going to do? You're going to go for all the loose coins first, then go for the medium, and then go for the hard ones. And, make sure that you mark all of the questions before the time is up. So if you're in that first English section and the proctor gives you the 5-minute warning, start bubbling everything that you haven't answered yet. That is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is that they don't bubble everything in, and you can't go back to bubble in. That would be considered a test discrepancy. So you need to finish bubbling in before the end of that particular session. You need to be the right kind of test taker. Since this is a timed test, a lot of this is just going to be you beforehand practicing to get comfortable with that pacing, because obviously you don't want to go too fast and you cannot go too slow. So you kind of need to be somewhere in the middle, which takes a little bit of training. And again, this is like any other test that you've ever, not like any other test. So like every strategy that we've taught you with like annotating and going slow and rereading, none of that's going to exist. Here's the thing, peeps. Don't get sucked down. Don't get desperate. Don't randomly guess. We'll talk about some strategies to have some educated guesses and things like that. All right, now let's look at each section just kind of individually, the breakdown. So on the English test, that's the first one you're going to take. And actually the first half of the exam goes pretty fast. So you have 45 minutes and 75 questions. So you do the division on that, right? That's 5 passages, 15 questions each, 9 minutes per passage. And the skills that they test are things like English usage and mechanics, which is stuff that we've been practicing, right, with our bell work, punctuation, grammar, sentence structure. And then 40 questions, that's 40 questions. And then the other 35 are rhetorical skills, right? Writing strategy, organization, style, also things we've been covering this year. Things that they don't test are things like spelling, vocabulary, and then like what the actual grammar rule is. Those things are not tested. Here are the directions for the English test. So it says, in the 5 passages that follow, certain words and phrases are underlined and highlighted. On the right-hand side of the screen, you will find alternatives for the underlined and highlighted part. In most cases, you are to choose the one that best expresses the idea, makes the statement appropriate for standard written English, or is worded most consistently with the style and tone of the passage as a whole. If you think the original version is the best, choose no change. In some cases, you'll find on the right side of the screen a question about the underlined or highlighted part. You are to choose the best answer to the question. You will also find questions about a section of the passage or about the passage as a whole. These do not refer to an underlined portion or of the passage, but rather refer to the letter or letters, a number of numbers, or an asterisk within the square brackets. For each question, choose the alternative you consider best, select the circle next to your answer, and then select the next button. Read each passage through once using the scroll bar to see the entire passage before you begin to answer the questions to accompany the passage. For many of the questions, you must read several sentences beyond the question to determine the answer. Be sure that you have read far enough each time you choose an alternative. Okay, So if you guys do the computer portion, reading these directions right here is not timed. If you're on the paper version, it is timed. I have heard, and I'm anticipating that you are going to take the computer version. The timer does start on this page, okay? So you're not going to want to read this on the test day. This tells you, like, you can use scratch paper, but that does need to be turned into the room supervisor, and that you can kind of navigate through questions. I'll show you what that looks like. So for online test taking, so for the computer-based one, I would recommend unlocking the highlighter and answer eliminator right away. So that's from the tools. You may want to unlock the answer masking, but really need to practice with that. In the English one, you're going to attack the questions in order, okay? And difficult questions you want to flag and guess automatically. So don't just like leave those to come back because you might not have time. So flag them and then make a guess. Okay, so that way if you run out of time, you don't have to worry about going back and filling those in. You're gonna look to the underlined text, take notes if you need to on your paper, predict a general answer, and then start eliminating. Okay, you wanna take out the garbage. So to take out the garbage, you wanna go from the bottom up, right? And just eliminate, cross them off as you go. This is gonna help you focus. This is gonna help you save time on those time bandits. And then you're gonna wanna predict your best answer or guess. And actually, you're gonna know a lot in this section just because we've been focusing a lot on this year. Okay, like I said, you wanna stop and answer the easy ones first. And think of the 3 C's. You want clear, concise, and consistent answers. So a lot of times you're going to look and you're going to say, oh, well, that could be any of those, right? Like pointing me, by pointing, and pointed, all those could fit. But again, you want to go with a clear answer, the concise answer, and the consistent one, the least wordy, okay? So which one is that going to be? Okay, again, keep flagging. If you don't know, make a guess and flag it. On the reading test, you have 35 minutes and there's 40 questions. There's 4 passages, so there's 10 questions per passage. That's going to give you 8 to 9 minutes per passage. Now, there are several different passage types. There's prose fiction, humanities, social studies, and natural sciences. Again, here's where some practice is going to come in handy. You're going to start to notice where you're doing the best. I always think, oh, I'm so good at prose fiction. That's like the short story one. I'm not. I suck at those and I don't do well. I do much better on like the social studies and natural sciences, the ones that are the nonfiction. And again, you'll just figure that out from practice. Now, if you only have 35 minutes for 40 questions and 4 passages, guess what? You're not going to read the passage. Now, when you read the directions, so the first half of the exam is English and then math, but obviously I'm not qualified to teach you anything about the math. So you'll do the English portion, the math portion, then you'll have a significant break. When you get back, you're going to start the reading test, right? So the reading test directions, you may now resume testing. Remember, if you are wearing a watch with an alarm or any other alarm device, it must be turned off. If you have a cell phone or other electronic device, it must be powered off and stored out of sight until you leave the test site. Clear your workstation of everything except for your testing computer, scratch paper and pencil. You'll have 35 minutes to complete the section. The section directions, the first screen in the section contains instructions about the reading test. That screen is not part of the scored questions. You can return to the instructions at any time by selecting the navigate button at the top of the screen and then select instructions. You may use your scratch paper on the test. You'll hand that into the room supervisor at the end of testing. Okay, and that page should not be timed, but then this next part is timed. So you can probably just skip all these, right? Because you don't want to be confused as to when the timer is going, although you will see it in the top corner. So on the reading test, there are several passages. Each passage is accompanied by several questions. Some passages are grouped within a single scrollable window, and the corresponding questions will refer to passage A, passage B, or both passages. Read each passage through once, use the scroll bar to see the entire passage before you begin to answer the questions that accompany the passage. After reading a passage, choose the answer to each question, select the circle next to it, then select the next button. And then you can come back to the passage as often as you need to, okay? And then you'll press the next button. Okay, so active test taking strategies for just the reading portion. So for the online, again, I recommend unlocking the tools for highlighter and answer eliminator. And on your scratch paper, what I'd like you to do is write questions 1 through 10, right? Because each passage has 10 questions. And mark the questions just really quick, easy, medium, hard, and you're going to attack them as you're going in order. So look at the first question, okay? And then you are going to want to answer them first, the easiest ones first, then the medium ones, and then finally the hard ones. For any questions that have highlights, you want to answer those right away because that's going to take you directly to that part of text. Predict some kind of a general answer, and then go through with your answer, eliminating the wrong answers by taking out the garbage, starting from the bottom, working your way up. I'll explain all this much more in depth. I know that right now it probably just seems a little overwhelming, and we'll practice, okay? Okay, so again, for the reading test, you want to take notes, flag, scan quickly, and answer. So again, you are not going to do any of the strategies that we have previously taught you, like close reading and all that kind of stuff. The only reason that you're taking notes is that you want to know, okay, I know I have a question about point of view. So as you're looking at this, as you're scanning, you can be thinking in your head about point of view or about main idea, things like that. Ones that have highlighted material, these are the ones that you are going to want to answer right away because you know exactly where to look. So you maybe just need to read a little bit before and a little bit after to get an answer. Okay. Here are some resources with some practice tests and things like that. Okay. And again, I know it seems super overwhelming at first, but we will do lots of practices. Maybe not with the people that I have the first semester. You guys will have to come back in the spring to do a little recap boot camp of that. But the more that you can practice, the better, just so that you get comfortable with the actual exam. And again, I'm only telling you about the English portion and the reading portion. There's also a math portion and a science reasoning portion. All right, good luck, Vikings. Keep calm. Remember, select an answer every single time. Trust yourself. At the 5-minute mark, stop what you're doing and select any answers for any unanswered questions. Again, answering 63% of the questions correctly puts you in the top quarter of all ACT test takers. And breathe.